Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Blue Ribbon Lounge podcast.
Welcome back to the Blue Ribbon Lounge podcast. Time to tune in, turn on, and drop out as we fill the cobwebby corners of your mind with the knowledge you didn't know you wanted in a way you didn't know you needed.
Yeah, do you remember math? Kick that shit out of there.
Yeah.
We got better stuff than that.
Fill it up with podcast knowledge.
The knowledge that you know. We'll soon know in the future, my time-traveling brethren.
Yes. We'll already be way past this by the time that you're present. This is your present.
This is our past.
Yeah, your present. Our present to you from our past.
Now on to the future.
Yes.
Davey, I saw you out and about.
I know. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was a great time. I always love seeing you outside of in the jungle, in the wild.
Out in the wild. The concrete jungle.
Yeah, Abernathy's had their 10-year anniversary. One Night Standards were fantastic. Shout out to Hollywood Dave, Chicken Boy, Scott Standard.
Yes.
You don't know him. He's not on the pod.
He hasn't been on the pod.
He's too cool for the pod.
We'll see what coming up in the
2024
future,
brings.
but I don't know.
I went with Justin X to on a camping trip.
Oh, glamping?
No.
Oh.
I went
campering.
Glamping compared to like a tent.
Oh,
but my camper's a glorified tent. No electricity, no water, nothing like that.
Yeah.
So.
Is that the new one?
Yes. New to me one.
How'd that work out?
It worked out great. It's way smaller than the one I take the family on. And so it was just me out there, and I really enjoyed being in it.
Oh, that's cool. Did you get any cool camping food?
We didn't eat like the first 2 nights. So for everybody else out there, Justin X is a big-time bow hunter. And so we went to Deer Camp 2023. And I did everything out there. It was my first time going quote-unquote hunting.
Yeah.
And I did everything except pull a deer out and gut it.
Oh.
Which I'm perfectly fine with.
Did they get any deer while you were out there?
I showed up. The night I showed up, right behind me, one of the guys that was staying with us brings in apparently a massive deer. Like, I don't remember how many, like, tines it had. But when they measured it all out, like, super officially, and it was, like, 187 inches. And I guess that's, like the people I've told that to, like, essentially their jaw drops.
Oh, okay.
So I guess that's a big-time deer. Yeah. And that's what everybody was telling me. And it was a big animal, I mean.
Yeah, like a 10-pointer?
I think they said it was 11.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and the antlers were all weird. It had a bunch of, like, weird little drop-downs and stuff like that. I'm learning so much while I'm out there.
Yeah. Apparently
there's 18 different ways to measure deer antlers, you know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's been since, like, early high school since I've been deer hunting.
Okay.
And yeah, you either go from like the two farthest out, like left to right, or like
it's like the width, or you could do thickness, or you can do number of points, or you measure them all the length, and then you measure them all around and add all these numbers together. And then there's one that's even past that, where it's like you measure it all and like you get deductions for it not being symmetrical.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's crazy.
That is weird.
But it was a big animal. I've seen dead animals, but it was probably the biggest dead animal I've ever seen.
Yeah,
and
almost people-sized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was a bunch of guys from like out of town, and I didn't know this until hanging out with Justin X, that like deer everywhere else other than Illinois, Iowa are like the size of dogs.
Yeah, they're not very big.
No, and so these guys were like walking up. It's like these guys seeing our deer is like if we see an elk.
Yeah, or like a mule deer.
Yeah.
And that's more like mountain stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, like going to North Carolina and seeing a deer, you're like, oh, is that like a doe? And it's like, that's big. Like, oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah, my mother-in-law is from California, and we were camping out at Loud Thunder, and a little fawn came up. It got like 15 feet from my kid, and my mother-in-law was like, wow, did you see that grown deer? And we were like, that was a baby, but you're from California. You don't know.
Yeah. Maybe they don't get that big.
Yeah, they don't. My wife sent me pictures of one, and I thought they were stuffed animals.
Oh.
They were tiny.
Tiny.
Yeah. And they still had like antlers and stuff. So
did they do any deer steak or?
We didn't cook any deer meat out there. I did just have some deer beef and potatoes. Deer venison and potatoes. It was like ground deer.
Yeah.
Justin X always gives me the hookup with that. But while I was out there, we cooked some pork chops over the fire, and then I took the last day that I was going to be out there off of going out of the woods.
Okay.
And I got some stew steak and some vegetables and made. I like to make like a chili stew, where it's got all the seasoning of chili, but it's got like some vegetables in there too, and beans and meat. And damn, it was good.
Oh, it sounds good.
Yeah, dude, there's nothing like having stuff cooked over a fire.
Yeah, especially like I remember that from being deer hunting. Where like one of the guys would make chili, and then he'd just sit on the fire all day. And as you came in, all cold. Well, it probably wasn't that cold when you were there, but
no, dude, it was like 70. I packed all warm stuff, and then I was like sweating the whole time. It was crazy.
Yeah, because I remember going and being like snowing out and blizzards, and then you come back to camp and you got this warm chili just ready to go.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Food is good.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I've been doing at deer camp, Abernathy's birthday. After Darks, what do you think of the After Darks?
Oh, they were good.
They're like one of my favorite bands.
I can see that. Yeah, I would say I definitely go see them again.
Yeah, I'll rip one of their CDs for you so you can listen to it.
Okay. Yeah, because I was going to rank them. I'm like, no. I think they were both equal.
Yeah.
The Three in the Tree, I would say, is a step down.
Yeah, hey, they're a cover band. I mean,
yeah, I mean the guy with the slap bass, and they're put on the theatrics.
They do put on a good show.
Yeah, it's just I could be like, I'm gonna step out to go pee and not worry about missing anything.
Yeah,
yeah.
And it's like a slower music, you know. Even the One Night Standers, as you hear in our intro outro, they're a high energy band, and even without singing and stuff, they put on a hell of a show. They got the drops.
Yeah,
Chicken Boy's always doing the hurricane.
Yeah, and they did that cool like playing the others frets.
Yeah.
That's
a good time.
How was the last band?
Three on the Tree was the last band.
Oh, I thought there was like a lady.
There was supposed to be, but she had to cancel the show.
Oh,
she was from out of town. We thought she was going to be like, I don't know, touring in the area. But I guess it was just a little bit more limited of a time for her than she could.
All right.
That's all right. There's like 130 people there. Boy, it was getting hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody was looking great.
Yeah, that's cool. It's people dressed up to go out.
Yeah. Have you ever been to that Raccoon Motel?
No.
Because that's where the original Abernathy's was.
Yeah.
And it was cool to be there, and like my wife and her business partner's parents showed up, and they had never been there, and so it was cool for them to see like how it transformed after it was Abernathy's, then flooded, and now it's this.
Yeah. And it's a nice little venue.
Yeah, and they had that music next door that was really good.
Yeah, and it was insulated enough where like I could hear the Three on the Tree, and then I took like 3 steps over, and then I could hear the other band.
Yeah,
they weren't like fighting to drown each other out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably those old all brick buildings, all cinder block or something. That's what the Blue Ribbon Lounge is, all cinder block, and you can't hear a peep when we're rocking out down here.
Ah, awesome. You've checked it out before?
Oh yeah. We've had some loud stuff going on, and I've checked it out outside, and it's
just
dead
kind of like
quiet.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just hear like a little murmur of your music, and you're like, all right.
Yeah.
But me, I like to open my windows if I'm really jamming, especially in the summertime. I got all the windows open.
What's that joke? Sometimes, is it Mitch Hedberg? Sometimes I like to listen to heavy metal, and when I do, so do my neighbors.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got out to, me and the old lady went and saw Ari Shaffir.
Oh, okay. How was that?
Really good. He's probably one of the best comedians I've seen thus far in my life.
Have you seen him before?
No.
Oh, really?
So it was the first time.
That's cool, because you liked him for a long time.
Yeah, and he finally came to Iowa City.
Okay.
He went out there at the Engelbert or something.
Englehart?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a nice little venue, too.
Yeah, I saw Kevin Smith there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which was really good.
Yeah, it's a good venue, and yeah, no complaints. So, speaking of comedians,
we got jokes and comedy for you today.
Jokes and comedies. Oh, did you know what I learned that I wanted to share?
What is it, Dave?
A little piece of information.
The knowledge. We're kicking something else out. Get it out of your brain, folks. Dave's here to sling it.
You know when they do the New Year's Eve ball drop?
Yes.
Times Square?
Yes.
All those people that you see in Times Square, I would say probably 80% of them are wearing adult diapers.
No way, so they don't have to go to the bathroom?
Yeah, because you get there at like 5.
Oh, my God.
And once they cram you into the barricade, they don't have porta potties.
Oh, my God.
And the stores are kind of like they don't want to because then there's just going to be a line for their bathroom.
Yeah.
And so I even looked it up. There's like guides how to survive New Year's at Times Square. And one of them is like, an adult diaper will help you to not lose your place in line. Like,
no thanks. I was talking to my wife, and she was saying she heard that in Disney, you're not allowed to leave and come back to your spot in line. So there's been people like just taking dumps in line and stuff.
yeah.
And that's that. And I've always been a firm. I have such a problem with like minuscule. I'm like, fuck the police, fuck the government, but like minuscule rules, I'm like, I gotta follow these.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to upset anybody. But like we were talking about it, and it's like, it's unhumane to make people do that.
Yeah.
And then put everybody around them in that position.
Especially if you're standing in line for an hour or two to get to a ride.
Yeah, Disneyland, like amusement parks. That's where children want to go.
Yeah.
And you're going to like take the ability to go to the bathroom away from them. It's crazy.
Especially, little kids.
And I'm sure it's all a part of them to get you to get fast passes and stuff like that.
Yeah, probably.
So it's all a money grab.
Stupid.
Yokes and comedy.
Oh, yeah. And also, happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Oh, is that just around the corner, huh?
Yeah, it'll be Wednesday.
Don't forget to listen to my favorite Thanksgiving song, Iron Maiden, Run for the Hills.
Run to the hills.
I'm so surprised it came up that off the top of my head.
I know.
Yeah.
And
today on recording, not on posting, November 15th, Steve Irwin Day. Now that's a holiday I can get behind.
That is, yeah. I was about to say happy little trees, but no, it's more like, look at this little buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, crikey day.
Yes.
But let's get into it, Davey. What makes you laugh? Why do we laugh?
Why do we laugh?
Laughter is a form of communication to show others that we understand, like, and appreciate them.
Yeah. And it's also a sense of community.
Yes.
Because we're primates. And once our tribes got too big to just like groom to get that communal kind of familiarity like regular primates do, we started laughing more, and that kind of brought the community together.
Yeah. And there's all sorts of ways of laughter. You know, you got that kind of laughter where you hear a funny joke. Inside jokes are so fun. Like, it's so weird how that works.
Yeah.
Because it almost doesn't even need, the thing said doesn't need to be funny, but it like reminds you of a situation that you're connected to. Or like laughing when people fall down and get hurt.
Yeah.
Like almost a nervous laugh.
Right.
Like when you get pulled over and you're trying to be funny to the cop or something.
Yeah.
Or the cop pulls up and makes a really bad joke.
Yeah, like, good job, officer. Yeah.
And I did hear that it's pretty hard to tell like fake laughing from real laughing. And now obviously there's a pretty big span there.
Yeah, unless you're like ha 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 ha.
Like some sort of sarcastic laugh.
Yeah.
And there's other animals that laugh as well. It's generally due to like tickling or playing. But like apes and monkeys and dogs can even laugh is what it said. And then rats, and maybe it doesn't. When I say laugh, I think of like a ha ha ha, but they don't have the vocal
like
cords
a
we do.
Titter?
Yeah.
Is that what they call it?
Okay, that would make sense.
Or like a hyenas. How it's like a yapping laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
So when you tell a joke, it's funny how one person's view of what's funny isn't always everybody else's.
Right.
So like you can tell a joke and it's like 80% of joke telling is going to make the joke teller laugh because they want to share something funny they think is funny with you.
Yes. Well, according to John Lemon, professor of English at Williams College, he says the 3 tenets for like joke telling is he uses you as in like the audience you, like the royal you. And so if like they think it's funny, I'm going to use they because saying you is confusing.
Yeah.
Because of course the English professor would
He's got to
make the English language sound crazy. But it's if they think it's funny, if they laugh, and their laughter is the reason. And those are like the 3 reasons why you would tell a joke.
Yeah. And it's like you're 30% more likely to laugh with other people, which makes sense of how like comedy rooms developed.
Yeah.
Being in a group, you really only have to make, 25% of those people laugh.
Yeah.
And it's kind of contagious. A contagious,
yeah.
like a yawn.
Yeah.
And they call that contagious sometimes amunipo,
Okay.
or the laughing disease.
All right. Did you know that there are health benefits from laughing?
No, but I could see that.
Yeah. Like there's like 2 different. There's short-term benefits where it can stimulate your organs.
Oh, whenever I laugh, I have to take a dump.
Yeah. But it enhances the intake of oxygen-rich air.
Oh.
It stimulates your heart, your lungs, and muscles, like your belly muscles, and increases the endorphins that are released by your brain.
Oh.
And the endorphins are the feel-good neurotransmitters that have an effect similar to like some narcotics. And the endorphin release is also why laughing can be contagious. Because once someone starts laughing and then your body is like ha, and then you get the endorphins and then it's like yawning, I guess.
Yeah, it's like the puff puff pass of endorphins.
Yeah. It's an active release of stress.
Oh.
Because like it says roll licking laugh, a really hearty laugh.
I think it's maybe rollicking.
Rollicking? Like frolicking? Like rollicking?
Yeah, I feel like I've heard that word.
Okay. It fires up and then cools down your stress response, and it can then increase and then decrease your heart rate and blood pressure, and then it gives you a nice relaxing feeling. So it's kind of like almost like jumping into a cold shower and then out.
Okay.
It like spikes you and then it cools you down real quick.
Okay.
It can soothe tension. Because it stimulates circulation and aids muscle relaxation, which can help reduce some of the physical symptoms of stress. And the long-term effects, it can improve your immune system.
Really?
Yeah, because negative thoughts manifest into chemical reactions that can affect your body by bringing more stress into your system and decreasing your immunity. And by contrast, positive thoughts can actually release neuropeptides that help fight stress and potentially more strenuous illness. So it helps also fight illnesses that can be like stressful to you.
Yeah, you know what? I feel like I have heard that thing about negative thoughts and you get sick more often. But I never considered the opposite. That when you're happy, you're healthier.
Yeah.
Happy and healthy.
And it also says that laughter can ease pain by causing the body to produce its own natural painkillers. So I'm guessing they're talking about the endorphins that get let out. It can increase personal satisfaction because it can make it easier to cope with difficult situations and also help to connect to other people since laughter's, contagious. And if you can find a way to like laugh at a situation, it makes it less stressful.
Yeah. It's like when you make a blunder but it's like you're making dinner and you drop the pan on the floor and that sucks. But if you're like your kids and your wife are watching, they're going to laugh at you Probably.
Yeah, and then you kind of just not as stressful.
Yeah.
Even though you now have to order pizza.
Yeah.
And then, that was from the Mayo Clinic
Okay.
because they did research on it.
The Sriracha Mayo Clinic, the ketchup mayo,
mustard and mayo clinic,
Chipotle Mayo,
Chipotle mayo, yeah. But then, Harmony United Chiropractic Care in 2022 were buttheads and did a thing where they said laughter could also be there's a dark side to it.
Come on now.
Yeah. And
if we don't have the research, maybe it's not true.
Well, these two pharmacologists with a common interest in humor evaluated over 5,000 studies, and they observed that serious laughter can trigger asthma assaults.
I can see that.
Fainting, because if you can't catch your breath.
Yeah.
If you have a hernia, it can bulge it.
Oh, I bet.
It can give migraines, incontinence. Like if someone tickles you too much, you pee your pants. Jaw separation. And you can get irregular heartbeats.
Really?
Yeah.
That one's the toughest one.
Yeah, that would be crazy. I mean, that must be like, if you have a history of heart disease or pregnant or nursing, please don't come to this comedy show or something.
Yeah. That's funny because, like, have you ever, like laughed so hard at something? Like, I do a lot of, like, laughing until I cry.
Yeah, I've done that before. Or, like, you can't catch your breath.
Yeah.
Or the proverbial geeking out.
Yeah. And you know what? That used to happen to me all the time. I'd go over to my buddy's house, and his mom would be in bed. And, dude, it's like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And, like, anything would set me off.
Yes.
I used to have to, like, bury my face in a pillow because I would just go into laughing fits.
Yeah.
And I would bury my face in the pillow, and then his mom would wake up and yell at us all.
Yeah.
And
well, yeah. Because I know, like, back in the day, being, like, sleep deprived, but also hyped up on sugar, and you're just, like...
And with your best dudes, your best friends.
Laughing at everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, geeking out, and then you just can't stop, and then someone's, like, tries to repeat the last word, and, yeah, you just can't catch your breath.
Yeah, there was one time I had imbibed in the Earth's medicine, and it was just me and some of my closest friends, and somebody said something like, everything is made of pine cones.
Yeah.
And dude, I literally, and this was back in the day, like just after like really heavy teen internet usage.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I was literally rolling on the floor laughing.
Yeah.
And oh my God, I just could not stop.
You were Rolfing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about too. That's funny. Yeah, I looked up some stuff. When I think of like the history of comedy, my first thought was like jesters, like court jesters.
Okay.
The oldest reliable known jester is Yo Shu of the 17th century BCE China, and he declared that jesters' words could not be given offense, and this was the privilege and important to the jester's position. But obviously it wasn't always, held up.
Yeah.
There was a lot of jesters that had been known to have been fired or even killed after their essential blatant mockery of whoever their superior was. A lot of times the jesters could be viewed as objects of mockery or even entertainers. So like, you have like the idiot jester, and then you have like the funny jester,
right? And then sometimes you just have the deformed kind of jester.
Yep, and some have even been like trusted like companions and like I want to say sage like, but they would give like their opinions to the royalty.
Yeah, because I heard they've always had to be on hand for at a whim. The king could be like, "Make me laugh."
Yeah,
and so they were always in like all the meetings pretty much. And so sometimes they would ask for their opinion, but then also like
well, and I would bet in that situation it's all about delivery.
Yeah,
if there was a story I'd heard about a jester, and all the people were getting upset at this king, and I believe it was of China, who was like taking all of his hunting parties out, and they were just trampling all the fields of people.
Yeah.
And the people were getting upset because they couldn't eat.
Yeah.
And the jester said something along the lines of like, yeah, who cares? Let's let everybody starve. The king's got to have his, fun time.
Yeah.
And, said in a way that made the king realize that I am being kind of stupid.
Yeah. I also read that too, that jesters were like kind of the mouthpiece for the people.
Mm-hmm.
But if they did it in a funny way,
Mm-hmm.
then, it would also kind of lighten the blow of being like, hey, you're king, you're being unreasonable.
Yeah.
But if he's like, I can laugh at myself, ha ha ha, like, then they could get away with kind of giving advice that way.
Yeah, and like you said, a lot of times jesters were appointed by a means of physical or mental differences. So you have somebody that is maybe really short or maybe really tall or fat or has a physical disability or a mental disability. And, that's definitely been a long time thing of people just finding differences funny.
Right.
And that is probably one of the earlier forms of kind of punching down. If
Right.
you got probably a jester with like autism or something, before they had all that information on the brain, and you would laugh at how much he just like couldn't work as normal in the world.
Yeah, but I mean,
As PC as I can put it.
but also like jesters could also entertain, like, if they were like throw a handful of rice on the ground, he's like 287. And they're like,
Oh yeah. And then also they were picked out of traveling groups of entertainers and things like that, to chosen because of either their humor or their style or
able to juggle and play a lute. And
there was a jester called Roland the Farter, who was Henry II's jester in the 12th century court of England. I guess I don't have that written down, but I'm assuming Henry. And he was the king's jester, but every Christmas he would perform a special routine, which ended with his finale being a simultaneous jump, whistle, and fart.
Okay.
Very talented man.
That's very talented.
I can hardly walk and drink.
Yeah, and they said like some jesters actually, it was a sought after job because they would get pensions. And then a lot of times also while they were performing for like a packed court, they would get like tips or like coins throughout an atom on top of their pension.
Yeah,
because if there's been ones, I can't remember their names, but like their kids were like taken care of, and their like wives, like after they passed away, they still got a little stipend from the king to keep them going.
Some of the other stuff I wanted to look into was like slapstick.
Okay.
Where it's not like, that's kind of like laughing at somebody's misfortune.
Like pratfalls.
Yeah. And it made me realize that there's so many more versions of it than, just a guy getting kicked in the balls.
Yeah. Because there was like Buster Keaton, who was a silent film guy. Oh, you probably know him. There's that famous like silent film one where there's a guy on the clock hands, and then the clock starts coming off the building.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like Buster Keaton.
Okay.
And
I immediately think of like Charlie Chaplin.
Okay. Same kind of deal.
Yeah.
But his was more like he's up on a fire escape and then the ladder falls but then swings at the last moment, or there's an explosion and the building falls but he's right where the window is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I listened to a little thing on him, and he like grew up in a pretty bad time, like the 30s or 40s.
Probably before that.
Yeah. But his family was super poor. He didn't have a huge education because by the time he was 12, he was actually working full time.
Yeah. So it was probably like the 1919s, like Depression time.
Yeah. Was that like the 30s?
It was before that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it was the 40s was like when World War II started, so it was before that.
Okay, maybe I didn't know how much further before.
Yeah,
I should have written it down. I was watching the thing.
Yeah.
I got his age when
Probably
he was
like
working.
1919. Before that, because I don't know,
It doesn't matter.
I'm trying to think of when the talkies started.
Well, and that brings me to, so Charlie Chaplin was like 12 years old, started working. He always wanted to go into entertainment and show business. By 14, he started auditioning for movie roles. And this was also like to help feed his family. So he was kind of taking a lot of things. By the time he created like the Tramp character, which is the classic Charlie Chaplin, you think?
Yeah.
Which would have had to have been before the 40s because he had the mustache before Hitler.
Yeah.
And so he gets to do all these things. Eventually he's making like $3,000 a month.
Yeah.
Like, and that's today, that's great money, you know?
Right.
And he eventually gets to a point in his career where the talkies start coming out. And he's like, well, all of my movies are silent, which means they can be broadcast across the world. By moving to a talkie, you're limiting your audience to just more than likely
English.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was pretty interesting for how forward thinking that was.
Yeah. So did
one more thing on the slapstick. The mother of all slapstick, Looney Tunes. Do cartoons.
Oh yeah,
you
Tom
can literally,
and Jerry.
yeah, you can literally blow people up and stuff like that.
Yeah, have their bills spin around.
Yeah, that's that took. I feel like that took comedy slapstick to like a crazy new level.
Yeah, which makes me wonder what came first, the Stooges or the Looney Tunes?
That's a good question. I wonder like what came first, like Looney Tunes or like an Evel Knievel.
Looney Tunes was before Evel Knievel.
Yeah, or well, I guess maybe stuntmen in
Yeah.
general, because like Evel Knievel would blow himself up,
right,
and like do these crazy things, and Looney Tunes could 100% walk away from it every time. So I wonder if they had an influence on one or the other.
I don't know. That's a good thought experiment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have anything about the history of like modern stand-up?
A little bit. The first stand-up comic performance was born out of the 19th century lecture format.
Yeah. Charles F. Brown.
Yes.
Otherwise known as Artemus Ward.
Mm-hmm.
Because back in the day, a lot of people didn't read as much, or learn how to read as much. And so lectures were a big thing. So it's a good way to get information and entertainment. Mm-hmm. And Artemus Ward did the first kind of deadpan take on society that happened to be humorous. And
the best thing I liked about the people describing that performance is that he was so deadpan, and the performance was titled "Babes in the Wood."
Yeah,
and he never addressed why it was called that
or what he was. Yeah,
yeah, and then he just kept talking like this is what it was supposed to be, like
right.
he was giving a school lecture about physics, and he was talking about physics, but it was not about Babes in the Wood. And
right. Yeah, and Mark Twain actually took note of that performance and just started incorporating it into his lectures. Mm-hmm. And actually pretty much that's all he would do after
really?
That. Yeah, and he had some pretty good one-liners. Politicians in diapers must be changed often and for the same reason. Civilization is a limitless multiplication of unnecessary necessities.
Say that one again.
Civilization is the limitless multiplication of unnecessary necessities.
Huh.
Like,
I feel like that's a real thinker.
Yeah. Like paper cups. We have glass cups, but hey, have paper cups. You don't have to wash them. It's a necessity that's unnecessary.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I thought this one was funny. God created war so that Americans would learn geography.
Damn, that hits home.
Yeah. And then the last one I have is the more I learn about people, the more I like my dog.
That's a good one.
And his, like, if you look at his touring, like, sheet, it kind of reads like how a comic would tour.
Yeah.
But he was, like, prolific in his tours around the country.
And they would have been way before, like, airplanes, right?
Yeah.
Or at least maybe public airplanes.
Right, but he'd probably just be on, like, wagons and stuff.
Yeah.
And riverboats and the train.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then after him was this gentleman, well, about the same time, 1893, Mark Twain or Samuel Clemens was 1897, but Burt Williams was from the Bahamas, and he was in the minstrel shows that were big at that time, which were the really
super racist
blackface.
Yeah, and thus became a good history of punching down.
Yeah, but his story was a little bit unique because he was a black guy playing blackface, and a lot of the stuff was to kind of punch down or make fun of colored people or like be racist.
Yeah, you're just blatantly racist.
Yeah, but then he teamed up with this other guy that I forgot to write down, and they started using their comedy minstrel show to speak about the goings on and like some like misjustice with like the Jim Crow Act and the kind of like segregation, or like you're free but not free and you still can't vote, but do it in a funny way where and they actually became like some of the highest paid minstrels, even though they were, you know, of African descent. Well, he's from the Bahamas, so I'm not sure.
Not sure he's African American or not.
Yeah.
Which is still a thing that comics arguably need to do, be able to deliver real information in a funny way.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of like the character Buckwheat.
Is that from like Little Rascals?
Yeah.
Okay.
And how a lot of people kind of saw him as a stereotype, and they're like, later in his life, they're like, how could you do that? You know, like betray your people. But he actually,
when he was 5?
Yeah, he was little, but he actually was a really good actor and kind of paved the way for studios to hire, instead of hiring white guys in blackface, they would actually start hiring, you know, like African Americans to do those jobs.
Yeah, which is kind of how it needs to be.
Yeah.
You have to have a couple of guys suck it up and do the hard work.
Yeah.
Before you have to have, you know, a Dave Chappelle come in and do a bunch of racy sketch comedy before Key and Peele can, you know, kick the doors off the place and do a show every week or whatever.
Right. Who's that one guy? The baseball player.
Jackie Robinson?
Jackie Robinson. You need a Jackie Robinson, you know, to kind of, I guess I'll sit in the back of the bus. I'll have my own dugout or whatever he had to go through, or his own locker room, to then finally get to play in the major leagues and pave the way, you know, and kind of like also at the same time fight for equality.
Yeah. America was racist.
Yeah.
We can all say that.
Right. It's one of those
you just got to do your best to not do that anymore.
Secret pillars it was formed on.
Yeah.
That and mass genocide.
Well,
you know.
Well, and that's kind of like kind of off subject, but like in the old Western movies, all of the Native Americans were played by Italian people.
Yeah.
Just because they had the same kind of color of skin.
Right. Or they would color them red. Like,
oh, really?
They would, yeah.
Damn, that's deep.
Right.
Well, I guess it's kind of like the minstrel thing.
Yeah. Just do like a black face. But then Will Rogers, I always wanted to say Roy Rogers, but Will Rogers came along.
Wasn't Roy Rogers a cowboy?
Yeah.
We're just talking about cowboys, dude. It all makes sense.
Yeah, but Will Rogers was kind of a cowboy too.
Oh, okay.
But then he gave up like doing the rope tricks and stuff and became more like political humorist is what he called himself. And because like one of his one lines is, "It's easy being a humorist when you got the whole government working for you." And then fortunately for American businessmen, America has the best politicians money can buy. And he had some other ones, but during the Depression, he would go on the radio and kind of tell jokes, but there's not like no laugh track,
Mhm.
and not having the context of like who Hoover is and what's going on in the country.
Mhm.
It just kind of seemed like really dry.
Yeah, and that's one thing I didn't consider. Like I have just like a couple of different concepts of comedy telling, and there's definitely been a lot of different waves of like radio comedy.
Yeah,
That's something I didn't even consider.
yeah, because back in the day, they would do those variety shows like Little Orphan Annie and stuff.
Yeah.
And like have a Foley guy right there,
Mhm.
and then they'd cut away to three people, like three ladies singing a jingle for Aqua Velva or something,
Yeah.
and then cut back to the radio program, and he would just go on there and talk and do like a monologue. And I've seen him on those first two. He was on stage,
Mm-hmm.
and they were funny, but then he was talking about like Democrats and Republicans, and it kind of holds up, but at the same time, that's not my thing. I
Yeah.
wasn't like, I'll write that one down and share
Yeah.
it. Yeah, but the old ones were very dry, and like, this could be funny, but I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, and you kind of bring up a thing like on the radio, they would have different cuts to people doing different things, kind of give people time to take a break and stuff. And after the minstrel shows, and I wouldn't know where this falls on radio lines, but they started like slapstick and kind of sketch comedy stuff started coming into vaudeville.
Yeah,
And so when you just have somebody up there making jokes or pratfalling, it gives people time to change the stage and get set up for the next kind of bigger act. And I
Yeah.
wonder if that is where clowning came from.
kind of, because they would have the comedy monologuists come in, like you said, so they could change the sets and stuff. But I don't know if that's where clowns came from per se. I think that's more like a circus thing, and mostly, in my guesstimate, is a little bit kind of like rodeo clowns, where they're also like making sure the elephants don't get out of line,
Yeah.
and keeping the kids interested while their parents are watching the ballerina on the hula hoop or whatever, the trapeze
On a horse or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do know the term blue,
Yep.
like, oh, that comedian's really blue, or he works blue.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the vaudeville era, they would work really clean,
Mhm.
like obviously squeaky clean, because everybody was super,
Hoity-toity.
yeah,
But also you want to be able to appeal to the largest audience you can. I
right.
would think.
Yeah, and back then, like, dang was a curse word.
Yeah.
So, but if it was
Now
too,
you can say ass on the TV.
right, if it was too,
Racy.
spicy, whatever.
And really, a lot of it was being racist or sexist, and
yeah,
maybe not sexist.
well,
maybe I don't
maybe
know.
a little bit, but
Yeah, if you go too far.
but yeah.
in those days, 'cause
Right.
Some of that stuff.
But
was
if you
okay
kind of
then.
cross the line, the owner of the theater would write all the parts that you did wrong and put it in a blue envelope
Mhm.
and give it to you. And so that's why it would be like, oh, you're blue,
Working
or you're
blue.
working blue.
and then people made whole careers off of doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And off color came from like sick jokes,
Oh,
because your complexion's not good, you're off color, you're sick. It's a sick joke.
oh, okay. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah. A lot of if you look it up, it's different, because it can also apply to diamonds, because if they're off color, they're not perfect,
Okay.
But I think when it comes to comedy, it's more of like, you're kind of sick. Like, you're talking about a horse pooping on a guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're kind of off color. And the term stand up first appeared in Variety in June 23rd, 1948.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And that was back with like Jackie Gleason, and those guys, they would play at like dance clubs, and they would just be on the dance floor, like there was no stage. And it explained like what they were doing. They were just standing up, and also it was a verb, like you're doing stand up, like,
Turned it into a verb.
right. And I saw a little clip of Jackie Gleason. He's like, back then, you could like be a little raunchy because it was at a club, but you also had to be careful because the people were right there in your face,
Yeah.
and they could slug you.
You don't want to do a whole lot of audience work.
Yeah. And then by 1963, the first comedy club opened. It was the Improv in New York on 44th Street.
Okay.
It's called the Improvisation, but they'd call it the Improv.
Yeah.
And I think, don't quote me on this, but after that was the Comedy Store in L.A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was like Mitzi Shore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was like her husband, but then
yeah.
when they split or he died or whatever, she took over.
Mhm.
And we actually have, I was going to look this up, but I ran out of time. But we have ties to that in the Quad Cities.
Really?
Yeah, because back in the day, the casino in Bettendorf, the Isle, they had a comedy club called Penguins.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, and that was actually owned by Mitzi Shore.
Really? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was a chain or if it was just she just invested in this random Midwest spot thinking maybe comics would come through there.
I always heard it was a pretty good place.
I
now.
only saw it after it was trashed.
Oh, okay.
After they went to pot, pretty much. Yeah.
Everything does.
Yeah, especially when it comes to casinos. But nowadays you have like the Cellar in New York and the Store, and then
like Funny Bones all across the country.
Funny Bones, Zanies in Chicago.
Yeah.
That's where I saw Duncan Trussell.
Oh, nice.
And then Joe.
I think one of my favorite comedians, Dusty Slade, goes to Zanies in Nashville.
Oh, okay. So must be a little chain one too.
Yeah.
And then there's the new Joe Rogan one, the Comedy Mothership in Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I guess is a big pull. I only know because I watched Kill Tony, and
which is funny.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I've only seen a couple of guys on there. I haven't watched. It seems like you could probably watch a full episode of it.
Yeah,
but I only seen a couple of guys.
Yeah, it's like a podcast kind of show.
I'm not retarded, but I like rocks.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Cam Patterson or something like that.
Yeah, Cam Patterson. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Well, and kind of speaking of Joe Rogan, I feel like so we grew up in the era of cable television.
Yeah.
Which Comedy Central is how I learned everything.
Yeah. Okay. Well, no, I was just saying HBO specials were really big too.
Well, I never lived anywhere with HBO.
Oh, okay.
We didn't have that kind of money, Dave.
I don't know.
But Comedy Central is how I learned pretty much everything about comedy when I was growing up. I have a Comedy Central Presents DVD.
Yeah.
With like Dane Cook, my favorite comedian Brian Regan, Carlos Mencia, who's since been dethroned.
Yeah.
And Mitch Hedberg is on there.
Okay.
And so I was like, 13, 14 watching Mitch Hedberg.
Yeah.
And watching all these other Lewis Black. And that Comedy Central's the first place I saw Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Okay.
When they were doing like the unedited midnight shows. Yeah. I feel really lucky that, well, maybe my parents didn't keep too close a track of me, but even then, my mom knew I was funny-ish.
Yeah. Maybe
not so much on the pod, but she knew I liked to try to act goofy.
Yeah.
And I would watch that kind of stuff. And then had you ever heard of Last Comic Standing?
Yeah.
That was a great show. I watched like the first 4 seasons before I got my driver's license. And
yeah,
it kind of went to pot too.
I think the only season I watched was the Josh Blue one.
That was a good one. That was kind of later.
Yeah.
Ralphie May he
was on one of them.
Yeah, which I watched this like hour and a half show about Dat Fan. Yeah, who is an Asian comedian who won the episode and beat Ralphie May, who was second. Dat Fan, I don't think ever got a special.
Yeah.
He was only on a couple of things. And it was the podcast was like the brief rise and immediate fall of Dat Fan.
Yeah.
But Ralphie May was good. He was like from, I think, Texas, and he was like 300 pounds.
Yeah.
And he just yelled a lot. And
yeah, I've seen some of his stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I watch a lot of comedy podcasts or podcasts with comedians, I guess.
Yeah.
And he's a name they bring up a lot.
And another name that everybody always brings up is Patrice O'Neill, who is like one of the greats. He died really young.
I think he only has, you can find his special on YouTube.
I think he's got 2 of them on there.
Oh, he's got 2 of them on there? Okay.
But yeah, he was really good, and he was on The Office.
Yeah. He was?
Yeah, he worked in the
Was he in the warehouse for a little bit? Okay.
Oh, but I think what I was I can't remember if I was gonna say this or I was gonna save it, but also all this stuff with Joe Rogan I feel like is having a big comeback of comedy, like because Comedy Central now I feel like is not a lot of comedy.
Yeah, and when streaming came along, I think it kind of killed them with like Netflix.
Well, I don't know if there was a lot of Netflix specials for a long time until Joe Rogan probably got bought up by Spotify, because that was a while now.
Bought up when he gained popularity, like in the last 5 years, I want to say.
But and then there was like a big boom where they were like everybody was getting a special.
Because I think it was like late 80s, early 90s. There was a big comedy boom with like Andrew Dice Clay and Sam Kinison and like Whoopi Goldberg and who's that other guy? The Mork and Mindy.
Robin Williams,
George Carlin.
Was that Eddie Murphy?
Yeah.
Richard Pryor?
Yeah. They were like late.
George Carlin?
George Carlin. They were like 90s, like, into the 90s, and then it kind of started dying a little bit.
I feel like that too, and I feel like Comedy Central kind of like started their fizzle out, and they were doing like Comedy Central roasts.
Yeah, they did a lot of roasts.
Yeah, which is, I saw a couple of them, they were okay, but it's just not as funny as watching one guy do a full set.
Yeah, and Comedy Central's hard because then there's commercials. Because I hate even on YouTube where I'll watch one and they'll just bust in a commercial. I'm like,
oh, you got to get that premium.
No, I don't.
Well, hey, commercials it is.
I guess.
Yeah. Who are some of your favorites, Dave?
Gallagher.
Oh, I was watching that word one.
Yeah.
Where he's got the 4-letter words.
Right. Yeah, because a lot of people just think he's prop comedy.
Smash
the sledge-o-matic, which is funny.
Not a bad thing to be known for.
Yeah, and as a kid, that kind of brought me in. But then, like, actually watching, like, a whole hour and him actually having jokes and, and then at the end be like, now we're going to smash stuff. Like, it was pretty cool. Ari Shaffir, for sure. George Carlin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it, the 6 dirty words? Or
7
dirty words?
Yeah.
A classic.
Blink 182, they stole that from him.
Oh, okay, that song.
Yeah, it's shit, piss, fuck, cocksucker, motherfucker, tits, fart, turd, and twat.
Damn, that was good, Dave.
Yeah. Some of yours?
Oh, yeah. I'm a huge fan of, my favorite comedian is Brian Regan.
Okay.
And then I'm a big fan of, like, one-liners.
Yeah.
So, like, Mitch Hedberg.
For sure.
Rodney Dangerfield. If you watch any old Rodney Dangerfield stuff, it's usually on, like, Leno.
Or Letterman. Or not. Carson.
Carson, yeah.
Yeah, he's really good on Carson. Back when they were, like, were smoking cigarettes and stuff.
That's so crazy to watch that. I'm really into a couple of new comedians. Dusty Slay, I had said. I seen him in Des Moines.
Right.
And then I'm really on this Stavros Halkias kick.
Okay, I watched him with the leopard suit. Yeah.
I thought that was a good stand-up routine.
Yeah.
He's got a good bit about, like, kids not wanting to work these days. Well, it's easy for you to say, old man, because you were, in your day, you could go to the carnival and win a house by playing ring toss.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great one.
Yeah.
And I have one here from Brian Regan. And this is my favorite joke of his, where he was at a park one day and he saw a family with a little boy who was holding a helium balloon. Well, he accidentally let go of the balloon and he started crying, and his parents said, "What are you crying for? It's just a balloon. We'll get you another one." And I'm like, jeepers creepers. And he's got such a great voice.
Yeah.
I'll have to let you borrow one of his stand-ups. I got 2 or 3 of his stand-up DVDs.
Yeah.
But I feel like adults don't try hard enough to understand what kids are going through. Like, what if you want to imagine, like, kids are going through if you took your wallet out of your pocket and it just started floating away, and you're like, ah, ah! And somebody looked at you and was like, what are you doing? It's just a wallet.
Yeah.
But to that, I absolutely love.
Yeah. I got a bunch of jokes.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
You got any Mitch Hedberg?
I don't.
You don't? I specifically didn't get a bunch because I thought you'd get one.
Figured everybody knows those.
But they're still good.
Like when
Dude, I could watch them a million times in a row.
I like to listen to my music loud, and my neighbor will bang on the wall, and I will tell him, "Go around. I cannot open the wall."
I don't know if you have a doorknob on your side.
But I do not. Yes. Yeah. I went to look at a house, and the realtor said, "This is a 2-bedroom house." And I said, "I can determine how many bedrooms there are. This one just happens to have a stove."
I like refried beans, but I want to try fried beans. Maybe we're just wasting time.
Yeah. They're like, baked potatoes take forever. Sometimes I like to throw a baked potato in the oven because who knows what I will want in 3 hours.
You ever been to like a punk rock show where people get on stage and stage dive? Some people think that that's dangerous, but I think people are 95% water, so they're only 5% away from being a swimming pool.
That's a good one. I haven't heard that one. You want to hear an old dirty joke from Red Fox?
Yes. Red Fox is he's pretty slapstick, but he also has some other stuff.
Yep. Well, he's like from Sanford and Sons, like the guy that's like, "Oh, my heart."
I'm thinking of somebody else.
One.
I'm thinking of Red Skelton.
Red Skelton, yeah. But Red Fox, he had this dirty joke that he was like, there's these 2 old ladies walking down the street, and the one old lady's like, "Oh, hey, isn't that your husband coming out of that flower store?" And she's like, "Oh, Lord, and he's got 2 dozen roses. I'm going to have to keep my legs in the air for like 2 weeks." And her friend was like, "Oh, honey, just buy a vase."
That's a good one. One of my favorite ones from Dusty Slay is, and he's a really good storyteller, and it just keeps hitting back.
Yeah.
But one of his like come onto the stage things is, I like to tell people we're having a good time. A lot of comics come out and ask people, "Are we having a good time?" Not me. I can't risk it.
Have you seen The Joker?
The movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Sam Morril joke in that one is really good.
Okay.
Because I guess the director went to the Comedy Cellar and saw him and like was like, "Hey, you want to be in my movie?" And he's like, "Sure." But his joke in the movie is like, women look at sex like buying a car. Can I see myself in this long term? Is it safe? Is it reliable? Will it kill me? And he's like, most guys look at sex like parking a car. There's a spot. There's another spot. Oh, wait, you got to pay for that one? Never mind. Handicap. I hope no one's looking.
I wrote down some Rodney Dangerfield. I told my kid to be honest, always be honest. He said, "Okay, I'm not your kid." I told my psychiatrist, "I got no self-esteem. I got nothing." He said, "Don't worry about it. You're not worth it."
Jeez.
I got no sex life. I tried that Viagra pill. My tongue got hard. Just kidding. Those pills are strong. Last week I accidentally dropped a whole bottle of Viagra pills in my toilet. Now the lid won't stay down.
Yes.
I got a dog. He is a Cocker Spaniel. He swallowed one of those Viagra pills. Now he's a pointer.
Yes. There's a joke that I like. Everybody knows Dave.
Okay.
So I was always talking to my boss and telling him like how I know everybody. And eventually he got pissed off. He's like, "I bet you don't know Tom Cruise." And I'm like, "You want to go to LA and find out?" I'm like, "Sure." So we fly, go to LA, get one of those maps to the stars, go up to Tom Cruise's house, knock on the door. Tom Cruise is like, "Dave, come on in, have a beer." It's like it's my boss. Like, "All right, you come in too." Get done. Boss isn't satisfied. He's like, that's a fluke. That's nah. Joe Biden. I'm like, all right, let's go to Washington, D.C. Get in one of those tours from the White House, and then who walks by is Joe Biden. And he's like, Dave, I was about to go somewhere, but you want a beer? Like, sure. And then he like fell going up the stairs. and my boss is like, you probably knew him from like college or something. Like, and I'm like, well, just say anybody. I know everybody. And he's like, fine, the Pope. I'm like, all right. So we fly to Italy, and we're in Vatican Square. And
Shout out to the Vatican episode.
Oh yeah, check that out. The Vatican Secrets. And I was like, there's no way like I'm gonna catch his eye. Let me go talk to one of the guards, because I know him, and just wait here a half an hour, and I'll go up in that little window up there, and I'll right beside the Pope. I'll pop out. Boss is like, okay, sure. A half hour later, like I step out onto the balcony, and I see down there's a big commotion and an ambulance trying to get through the crowd. And I'm like, crap, I'm gonna go down and check out what's going on. Go down there, and it's my boss, and he's like, ugh. He's like, that was the last straw, because he's having a heart attack. And I'm like, what happened? He's like, the guy next to me, you came out on the balcony, and he's like, who the hell is that on the balcony? With Dave.
Oh, that's a good one. I got, looking this stuff up, I got on a real Norm Macdonald kick.
Yeah.
And he's just got some of like the longest, craziest jokes. A moth goes, the thing about all these jokes, I feel like you can tell they're done by professionals.
Yeah.
Because we can sit here and butcher them all day long, and they're still pretty funny.
Yeah.
But a moth goes into a podiatrist's office, and the doctor says, what seems to be the problem? The moth says, what's the problem? Where do I begin? I can't stand my wife. I can't stand my kid. I'm just drifting through life. Sometimes I feel like a spider barely holding onto the web. The doctor says, moth, man, you're troubled. You should be talking to a psychiatrist. Why on earth did you come here? The moth says, because the light was on.
That's a good one. You were talking about one-liners. Stephen Wright.
Ooh, that sounds so familiar.
He's like very deadpan.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and his one-liners are odd. Like,
I gotta look this guy up. Keep talking.
He's like, I lost. Let me see if I can do it. I lost my remote.
I know this guy. Yeah.
So I called information. They said it's behind the couch. I was at a party once, and a guy asked me if I was stranded on a desert island, what book would I bring with me? I said, How to Build a Boat. I accidentally tried to unlock my house with my car keys. It started right up. I drove it around for a little bit and then parked on the interstate and yelled at everybody to get out of my driveway.
I watched this thing about like how jokes should like have a real good twist at the end.
Yeah.
And there was one from George Carlin that was like, a man says to a woman at a bar, "You look very beautiful. Would you want to go have sex? But I gotta say, I like to get kinky with it." The woman says, "Yeah." So they hop into the man's car, drive to a motel, get a room, have sex in a very conventional way. And she says, "That was great, but I thought you wanted to get kinky." And the man says, "I did. I shit in your purse."
I saw this one comedian. Didn't catch his name, but he figured out he's gonna start being a vegetarian, and he's like, I don't think it's as hard as everybody thinks, because anything can be a vegetable if you hit it in the head hard enough.
Oh, that was a good one. Do you remember like the first joke you ever like really learned?
Yes.
Was it like a decent joke? How would you rate the joke, like 1 to 10? One bite, everybody knows the rules.
I don't know.
Because the first joke I remember,
6?
a 6. Mine was like a 4.
Oh, okay.
4.2. I'll do mine first because it's worse. Yeah. A kid stands up in kindergarten, and the teacher says, "Hey, you say the ABCs." Kid says A B C D E F G H I J K L M N O Q R S T U V W X Y and Z. The teacher's like, "Well, try it again. I'll give you one more shot and try it again." Says the whole alphabet again. L M N O Q R S T U V W Y and Z. And the teacher's like, "Well, where's the P at?" And he says, "Going down my leg."
Yeah. Okay, I guess I had a different upbringing. But there were these 3 guys, and they're walking through the woods, and they come across a genie's lamp, and they rub the lamp, and the genie says, he's like, "I'll grant you a wish, but you have to run and jump off this cliff and say what you want to land in, and it'll be there." And the one guy runs, and he jumps, and he's like, "All the money in the world!" And he lands in a big pile of money. And the next guy runs and jumps, and he says, like, "A bunch of hot women." Lands in a big pile of hot women. And the third guy runs and trips, and he's like, "Oh, shit!"
Yeah, and watching all these old Comedy Central stuff and talking about here, laughing in my buddy's house uncontrollably. I remember just all those old jokes that have definitely, they had their moments, but they're not necessarily around anymore. Like, I like my blank, like I like my blank.
Your blank?
I can only remember like women jokes. But
okay.
I like my women like I like my coffee. Black.
Oh, okay.
I like my women like I like my coffee from McDonald's.
From McDonald's.
And you can do that with just about anything. Those are just the ones off the top of my head. Or like dead baby jokes.
Yeah.
Remember those?
Well, what's the difference between a baby and a bag of chips?
What?
About 140 calories. What's the difference between a dead body and a slice of pizza?
What?
You can't feed a family on a slice of pizza.
Or like your mom jokes.
Yeah.
Those were always good.
Yeah.
Especially like your mom is so fat when she sits around the house, she sits around the house.
Yeah. Your mom is so fat when she gets cut, she bleeds gravy.
Or chocolate milk.
Or chocolate milk, yeah.
Yeah. Pick your poison.
Yeah. Have you heard the Million Ducks one? Probably heard this one.
Well, maybe. I don't know.
Or a guy walks into a bar, and on the bar, there's this little like guy playing the piano, like really small, and he's like, "Wow, that's the smallest piano player I've ever seen." And the bartender's like, "Oh yeah, there's a leprechaun in the back room. He'll grant you one wish. You go back there." And he's like, "Really?" It's like, "Yeah, go for it." And the guy goes back room, comes back out, opens the door, and like 1,000,000 ducks go flying out and out the front door. And he goes up to the bartender. He's like, "Hey, I think your leprechaun's hard of hearing." He's like, "Yeah, did you think I really wanted a 10-inch pianist?"
I like it's like another classic format where it's like horse walks into a bar, bartender says, "Why the long face?"
Right.
I like the one it's like 3 guys are walking down an alley, 2 guys walk into a bar, the third one ducks.
Yeah. Or that's like Ray Charles walks into a bar, and then a chair, and then a table.
Oh, let's do some more favorite comedians.
Favorite comedians?
Yeah. I'd like this one to be like one that people can like Google later.
Google. Duncan Trussell's not bad.
For sure.
I don't know if you can find his stuff online.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a lot of like This Isn't Happening ones, but I don't know if he has like sets online. Bert Kreischer.
For sure.
He's funny. Sam Morril. There's one guy, Mark Norman.
Mark Norman. That sounds familiar.
I just saw he's been on Conan a lot, and he does like the one-liners.
Okay.
He had this one joke where he's like talking about like slut shaming and how like why are we still doing this? It's the 21st century or whatever, and he's like, yeah, like because like a prude is kind of like a mom and pop shop. Like you pretend like you like them, but it's kind of more expensive and they close early. And he's like, where a slut, that's like going into Walmart. If you're in one at 4:00 in the morning, and you're like, huh, I'm really glad these things are around.
That's a good one.
Yeah. No, Joe List is another good comic.
I've heard of his name. Has he been on like Rogan?
He has, but he's kind of a dork. Like he wasn't the best interview, but his comedy is pretty good.
Yeah, that Stavros Halkias, he has a podcast called Stavi's World.
Yeah.
And he's had a lot of really good comedians on there. We're like they're on there. I think they're funny. So and a lot of times they'll be there to like pimp their special or whatever. And so I'll go check it out.
Yeah, that's how I do a lot. I can't think of a lot off the top of my head.
Yeah, me neither.
But yeah, if you go to like I don't know. Like Ari Shaffir had a lot of good comics on, and he would promote them. And Are You Garbage is a good show where they get comedians on, and
yeah, they were on I think they were on a Stavros podcast, and I saw them a couple other places, but they had a really interesting concept.
Yeah, they just kind of they pretty much get the backstory of the comedians, but then like say if they're trashy or not. Yeah. Yeah,
that's all I had. I got some good names here, so I'm gonna look them up.
Comedy movies. Do you have favorite comedy movies?
Oh, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Yeah, Mallrats.
Mallrats for sure.
Yeah.
Idiocracy I just watched with the boy.
Okay. Tommy Boy.
Tommy Boy's a good one. I watched Black Sheep a lot.
Yeah, Black Sheep's a good one.
I'm not gonna lie, any Adam Sandler movie, even the awful ones he's been putting out lately.
What did I write down? Billy Madison.
100%.
It's a toss up between that one and Happy Gilmore.
I'd lean Billy Madison, but that's because I've seen it more.
Okay.
It's like me and my wife are always like ripping jokes back and forth. In that movie, I saw an interview with Adam Sandler, and it was when he was in the pool.
Yeah. And
the directors were like, Frank is played by Norm Macdonald.
Yeah.
And I don't know who the bigger guy is off the top of my head. But they needed the two extra guys other than Adam Sandler to just like lay around and pretend that they're drunk.
Yeah.
And so Adam Sandler was delivering a line, and Norm Macdonald was supposed to bounce back on it. And he was like, Adam Sandler said he delivered it really well. And there's kind of a pause. And he was like, oh, Norm's really reaching to the bottom of the bag for this one. Make sure it's really good. Let's see what he comes up with.
Yeah.
He was drunk and he fell asleep.
Oh, that's good.
Joe Dirt.
Big Lebowski.
Big Lebowski. Great movie.
My go-to, World's End.
World's End's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say any Edgar Wright movie, but...
Who's that?
Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, okay,
World's End.
I mean, they're all
Fudge.
They're all good movies.
Super Hot Fuzz.
Hot Fuzz.
Yeah.
Not Super Troopers.
No. Super Troopers is all right, though.
Yeah.
That's quotable.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Snozberries is like 80% of it.
Yeah.
Or the Shenanigans quote.
What's the Beer Fest? Beer
Fest, yeah.
Beer Fest, yeah. Animal House, maybe.
I think it was a little bit before my time.
Yeah, like a Porky's.
Yeah, the same thing. I watched Porky's once. I don't remember it a whole lot, but the wife hasn't seen it, so I might make her watch it.
Oh, okay.
Just as be like a classic.
Just to check it out.
TV shows. I think we were talking about blue comedy and stuff like that. I think clean comedy is often better. That's why I love Futurama.
Oh, okay.
I do also really like Rick and Morty.
Right.
But I think it's just a dirty ripoff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In my opinion, I've watched 100% of both of them, but I've rewatched way more Futurama. It
Yeah.
doesn't help there's more
Well,
of it.
some of those nowadays, because they'll like pop up on my YouTube, and it'll be like Megatropolis, and I'm like,
Yeah.
and the little words, they're little blurbs. I'm like, this isn't funny. They're just being like, look, we're weird.
Hulu is cash grabbing on adult animation.
Yeah,
really
it's-
hard. Oh, and then Netflix did that for a long time for stand-up. I mean, they were putting out 10 stand-ups.
Yeah, during the pandemic, there was a lot. They were like, this isn't good. Like,
Yeah. Oh, of course, Chappelle and John Mulaney.
yeah,
And what's that? Nick Kroll.
Nick
Pretty
Kroll.
good. They're all stand-up comedians. I
Okay.
finally remembered some, so I thought I'd
All
say
right,
them.
yeah.
And then TV shows.
Home Improvement.
Home Improvement was a good one, dude. Sitcoms are so funny.
Yeah, for the most part. Sometimes they're just mind wasters.
Really good right now is Letterkenny.
Letterkenny.
Yeah, it's Canadian,
Okay.
and it's very rhythmic back and forth.
Yeah.
A lot of people saying a lot of stuff in a row.
Dialogue heavy.
Yeah.
I like that, the witty dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I like The World's End, because they're just like banter is
And
hilarious.
they just put out, or the main guy just put out a new show called Shoresy.
Yeah.
So it's like Letterkenny with the good banter. It's a little less because of the backup cast. The backup cast in Letterkenny is like phenomenal.
Yeah.
Shoresy, it's just like I like the main guy more, and it's about hockey, so it's
okay.
it's like a slam dunk on me.
Yeah. Trailer Park Boys was all right. First couple seasons, I didn't continue watching it after a while because I'm like, it's kind of the same setup.
Righteous Gemstones,
Righteous
or like Talladega Nights
okay.
has Will Ferrell and that other guy in it. I always want to say it's the dude from Walk Hard, but it's not.
The curly haired guy?
Yeah,
That is the guy from
nope.
Walk Hard.
They're two different guys.
What?
They're both curly haired dudes.
No.
Yep. Google it. But then also on
the
there,
guy from Step Brothers.
yes, he's not in Walk Hard. That's John C. Reilly.
That is John. They're all John C.
No,
Reilly.
they're not,
Yes,
dude.
they are.
No,
I'm telling you.
Talladega Nights cast. Oh shit, John C. Reilly was in that.
Yeah.
Well, then who am I? But he's not in Step Brothers.
Yeah, he is.
Fuck. Is he?
It's all the same
Then
guy.
who am I thinking of?
I don't know.
Uh
But John C. Reilly is actually really good in Gangs of New York.
oh, I bet.
Yeah, and like for being not a comedic role.
Danny McBride is who I was thinking
Yeah,
of.
Eastbound and Down. Have you seen
Yes,
that? That was
yeah.
funny.
But he's in that, and also, have you ever seen? Dang, what's that movie? It's a. His name is Walter Goggins. He plays one of the guys in Hateful Eight.
Oh, I've not seen that.
Oh, it's a good flick. I'll let you borrow it.
Is that
sometime. He's got like great, big, really good teeth. They're all fake, I think.
is that the Tarantino?
Yes.
Okay.
But Walter Goggins is super funny in that one.
Okay. You want me to rapid fire you a bunch of jokes? I got a bunch. What did the sushi say to the bee?
Sushi say to the bee. I don't know.
Wasabi. Why did the astronomer put ground beef in his shower?
I don't know.
He wanted a meteor shower.
Meteor show.
What's Whitney Houston's favorite coordination?
Favorite coordination?
Yes.
I don't know.
Hand eye. What'd Mario say when he broke up with Princess Peach?
It's not you. It's a me, Mario.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good job.
And that's the thing that my wife is maybe not accustomed to. I want to say that she hates it, but that might be speaking a little strong. But like me and my mom tell jokes back and forth all the time, and me and my kid,
Yeah.
and my kid and my mom. But we're actually really good at like getting the punchline.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure. Maybe it depends the dynamic. Does that ruin it? Do you think that ruins a joke, or maybe it depends on who you're telling it to? I figure if you're telling somebody a joke, you're generally like friendly with them.
Yeah.
So you want to be on the same
Yeah,
level.
and especially if you're asking, have you heard?
Yeah.
Or like, what does like?
Yeah.
It's kind of cool if they can guess it.
Because it's a question, you should be able to answer it.
Right. My doctor told me that bananas were really good. Like if a banana a day is really good for cleaning out your colon. It took me 3 weeks to figure out I was supposed to eat them. What's brown and sticky?
I don't know.
Oh, a stick. But also my poster of Rihanna. What do you call an artist with a brown finger?
I don't know.
Picasso.
Oh.
I think that's all. Oh, I got one dumb one and then one dirty one.
Okay.
And I'll be done.
Okay.
I finally got certified in forklifts. Now I can eat salads. And then, what did Cinderella do when she got to the ball?
What? Oh, damn. Okay. That's enough of that.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. I hope you laughed along with a couple of
Yeah.
those. Thanks so much, Davey, for bringing all those slammers.
You're welcome.
Uh,
I figured those are good ones for Thanksgiving when you're walking around the block with your cousin, working up that appetite.
Make sure you tell us a couple of these holidays coming up. Goof off with your friends. We love to laugh here at the Blue Ribbon Lounge. Hope you're laughing too. And for God's sakes, be good to yourselves.
Yes, because we love you. And remember, in the words of Lucille Ball, the secret of staying young is to live honestly, eat slowly, and lie about your age.